Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of lockdown. I trust your first day was a good one. I didn't send a video then, but I'm sure you've woken up to the news this morning that Moody's has downgraded us. And so we're kind of where we've been speculating we might be for some time. I think you'll remember in the newsletter that we wrote regarding some of the reorganization around listed property earlier or in the middle of last year, that we talked about a number of things around the downgrade that concerned us, and I think we've certainly seen that happen. So if you look at this chart, this is the RSA 186, which matures in 2026, 2027. It's a government bond. It's probably sort of the base rank for the bond market. And you can see that over the course of this last week, it has spiked from around about the 8% mark to well over the 10, getting close to 11% mark. It did come back a little bit on Thursday, Friday, but it would be safe to assume that was in anticipation of the downgrade, and certainly has been built into the price, and it was exactly what we expected and projected, if you remember, out of that letter. And as a result, we are being impacted on the downgrade, along with the virus. Possibly the virus has spread us to that point, but certainly that is what's happening in our market. I'm going to move this on. This is the RSA 2030, so this will be the new 10-year bond that's tracked. You can see that went a little bit higher into the 12 mark. Also saw this come back, and that's very much in line with what we were expecting on the downgrade, and we've seen a lot of money go out of the country. It's possible we'll see some more go out, although the news is that the money that hasn't left already would really be those index funds, for which we make up roughly 4% of the global rateable bond index. And so that money will still have to leave the country on the basis of the index, but I see that the index service providers have indicated that they will not make that change till the end of April, so we may have a bit of a reprieve from that point of view. It possibly will be offset by non-investment grade money coming into South Africa on the difference between our inflation and the bond rate. So I mean, inflation now below 4.5%, bond rate 12, you can get a real return of around about 7.5% to 8%, versus the rest of the world very definitely close to minus. Obviously, people will have to weigh up whether there's some risk, but the one might offset the other a little bit, and that might be why we saw a bit of the yield coming back again from that perspective. Now, I'm sure you're all aware that the property market is bond priced. In other words, what's happening in the bond market really shields or projects across into the property market. And here we can see this is the J253, which is the property index on the JSE. And you can see that it's fallen almost in line. This is the share value, which would be obviously down as the yield on the bond market goes up. And so this is sort of inverse to what we saw in the bond market. And remember that this is a technical reason in terms of new money. So when new money looks at where it can go into cash, it can go into bonds, it can go into property looking for yield. And so the property market must always adjust in terms of the new money. So that's why we're seeing that price movement. This will affect many of your clients, specifically income clients. But what we need to explain to them is that move is around technical moves from the bond market, and not really the underlying fundamentals of the companies. Admittedly, we do have to take into account the fact that the virus will definitely have an effect on rentals. We don't know what that's going to mean or how it's going to play out, and that is a global phenomenon. So we just need to be patient from that point of view. Markets are never going to rush in and buy and put in support levels until they understand and see how these things are playing out. To give you an example, JP Morgan came out and said initially that they thought that the American GDP was going to decline by 10% in the first half of the year. They subsequently have come out and said that they think that number's wrong. They actually think it's going to decline by 24%. So at this point, any analyst's speculation of the future is purely it's speculation, nothing more than that. So at this point, there's no point in acting, because it's not acting on fact, it's acting on technicals. So this is definitely going to be seen in clients' portfolios at the end of the month. In addition to that, this is a track of the Rand, so you can see what the Rand has done. Sorry, I'm pointing the wrong place. So that's what the Rand has done over this last week, pretty much in line with that money moving out of the bond market, foreigners taking their money out ahead of what they expected, and so the Rand has weakened on the back of that, which will also made a difference. So certainly an interesting weekend. We will watch with interest what happens on the open next week, but understand that the downgrade is now here. At least there's no more speculation, so to some extent it might be a good thing, not a bad thing, and hopefully that gives you a little bit of something to hand on to clients. What I'm intending to do possibly is actually set up a broadcast list across my client base and put on these kind of videos onto them. They've got plenty of times, maybe not too much Wi-Fi, who knows. I see that an undersea cable is now broken again. So that might mean we have slow data coming through. Everything's happening at once. But my intention is to look at maybe putting this broadcast list out to my clients, asking them if they want to be removed, and hopefully I wouldn't have a problem if you then put that on to them. I'll try and make these always digestible for both you guys and clients. So I hope you have a good day. I hope it's a good Saturday. At least the sun is shining today. Hopefully you can get out and get some fresh air and make it meaningful. Enjoy the rest of your day.